Hey, I just got back from lunch. Did you finish that report yet?
Well, not exactly. Still working on it. I'm not finished just yet. I got a little sidetracked, but I will get them to you first thing this afternoon.
It is first thing this afternoon.
Well, yeah, I understand that, but I mean, I am working on
But
it. I'll have.
what do you mean that the report isn't finished yet?
I'm still in the process of working on it. I've just been a little distracted.
Distracted. Our meeting starts in an hour.
I can have it.
No. What were you doing? Were you listening to another hunting podcast again? I swear, I give the staff in this office the freedom to do whatever they want to do as long as they meet a deadline. That is the first bullet underneath your job description. Pays attention to detail and deadlines. And deadlines. Dude, are you even listening to me right now?
Welcome to episode 196 of the Whitetail Distraction Podcast. My name's Austin, and joining me in the pod port, Charles Headland. How you doing, buddy?
What's up? I'm doing good, man. How are you doing?
Not bad, buddy. Not bad.
Just beautiful day in Pennsylvania.
Right?
Man, I was thinking today, I went outside. I was like, man, I feel like I live in Alaska.
It kind of feels like it. I don't know what was going on there.
Accidentally muted yourself.
I did. I don't know how. It happens.
Fat fingies. Yeah, dude. The wind was blowing, snow, and I'm like, kind of over it. Kind of waiting for spring. But
yeah.
I'll tell you what, when I wake up in the mornings, I hear the birds starting to chirp a little bit. Kind of gets me excited, bud.
I know you're like super duper excited.
I'm telling you.
Those big birds are starting to chirp a little bit too.
Yeah, it's a little early for me to start looking for them big birds, but it won't be long.
Won't be
long. I'm going to kick it all off with a nice little trip to the Nashville NWTF convention here tonight.
Hey-o.
I'll be down there for the weekend, so
Awesome.
looking forward to it, man. I'm fired up.
It's a good way to kick off Valentine's Day, buddy.
Yeah, well, my wife's coming with me, so we have decided to leave the baby behind though, so she's freaking out. It's the first time away from her, so it's like, ee. But I mean, we were just like, dude, 9 hours in a car with the baby. And then on top of that, we might have weather on the way back. Is it really the safest thing to do?
Not.
Probably not. Not with a car with over 200,000 miles on it. Anything could happen, man. So I was like, we'll just leave her behind.
Yeah. Good idea. Good call.
So we're going to enjoy ourselves down there. We're going to go and see some vendors. I got a list started already that I want to check out. My vendor list, if you will. I want to see Painted Arrow. I told you about. They dropped brand new, spanking out the box. They dropped the gun barrel mount for shotguns.
Oh, yeah.
So
you were talking to me about that.
That sounds fun. I want to see Vortex. They just dropped their brand new $430 shotgun red dot.
What?
Yeah. Crazy.
That is bananas, buddy.
Uh-huh. And I want to see Pack Rabbit. I think you were the one. Maybe it was
No, that was Shane Simpson, I think, who was talking about the Pack Rabbit.
Somebody brought it up a long time ago.
Yeah.
I feel like it might have been him. Might have been Walter Lee. He was talking about it potentially. I don't remember. And then Blocker Outdoor come up with a new chest rig for turkey hunting, too. I want to check that out.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, just some things to look at.
Being a chest rig kind of guy, eh?
Well, they got the new vest out at Grounded with the chest rig front instead of like your two-sided vest pockets. So
oh yeah,
it'd be cool.
Yeah, pretty sweet.
It's kind of what's
sweet.
In right now, I guess.
Yeah, I'm still torn because I've never really been a big vest guy myself.
Yeah,
I like keeping it pretty minimalist, but I've been running a vest the last couple of years.
You got my
still
old
don't know
vest.
how I feel about it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
It's nice because the seats the hard part to replace.
Yeah.
That's kind of what they're coming up with. They're coming up with a more minimalistic style, but still with a seat.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Let's give a quick shout to our partners, and then we got to get our guest on tonight.
This is true. This is true.
Just quickly, we want to shout out VIP Broadheads, best broadheads in the business. Thank you, Matt and Cindy. You're still the best people I know out there. And what kind of blood do they leave again?
Freddy Krueger blood, buddy.
That's my boy. Back 40 Seed Company. Use the code Distraction10.
For 10% off?
10% off. I think it gets you maybe even free shipping. I don't remember, but
It did at one point. You keep saying that.
did I? Well, we'll just keep repeating it then. It's going to be frost seeding here when this ground starts to thaw out again. So keep it on your mind. Go get your seed now. So when the time's right, you're not wishing you had. And then last but not least, A&F Custom Calls. I just talked to Kyle Allen the other day. He's got us some Honky Hen series calls coming our way.
Okay, I was going to ask about that.
Yeah,
Yes.
buddy. I actually gave him a little bit of a lip. I was like, dude, the fact that I don't have one of these still, and you came out with them last year, we're going to have some issues. So but that's it, man.
I like it.
That's it. I'm excited for the episode. So let's get Nate Sellers on the phone. All right, so here we are. As promised, Nate Sellers, the average Jack Archery, the man, the myth, the legend, the most requested person on this podcast. And I only say that, Nate, because I don't know if we've had anyone else on that's been requested, so But you have been requested.
Man, I'm just high honors. That's awesome.
How we doing tonight, man?
I am doing fantastic. Thanks for having me on, guys. This is I'm looking forward to this. This is fun.
Absolutely. We appreciate you taking time out of your night.
Oh yeah, absolutely, dude. As I've always told people, I love talking to fellow dudes from Pennsylvania, Ohio, New York, dudes who get what it's like to live in what is basically Antarctica, just in the United States.
Yeah,
and they get what it's like to hunt deer that we hunt and hunt in the mountains and the weird and laurel and everything else. And so yeah, I'm super pumped to be here.
I'm glad you didn't include the Michigan or West Virginia people because we don't associate with them.
Do you know the joke about the toothbrush being invented in West Virginia?
No.
Because the toothbrush was invented in West Virginia because if it had been invented anywhere else, it'd be called the teeth brush.
That's a good one. I have to remember
I didn't
that.
say it wasn't a good dad joke.
That's a dad joke all day.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That is
funny.
excellent. Do you mind if we steal that? I'm a new
No,
dad,
absolutely.
so look, man, new dad, I really need to get my jokes up. I'm lacking a little bit in that department.
Yeah, they don't get it. Like my 9-year-old, she doesn't get that yet. But like when my dad told it to me when I was like 12, I remember him saying, "I was like, that's not that funny." And then 1 o'clock in the morning, it hits you when you're laying in bed. You're like, "That is the funniest thing I've ever heard." Yeah, that'll happen to your kid eventually.
I love it. Oh man, so that is wonderful. And I was just kidding. West Virginia and Michigan, we still like you. Just so if anyone's listening, yeah, all good people.
They're good people,
and a lot of good turkey hunting. So
That's true.
Yeah, it's almost springtime. If you couldn't tell, I'm a little bit jittery when I start podcasting around this time because you wake up in the mornings, the birds start, and just starts to kind of pump blood in my veins. I don't know if you're a big turkey hunter, Nate.
I am a big turkey chaser. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
I love running around the mountains and never killing one, but I get fired up for it. I really do. I'm not very successful, but I do love chasing them.
Well, you're in good company with me then. Chuck kills all the birds around here.
Listen, that's why another good dad line is. That's why it's called hunting, not killing, right?
Oh yeah,
that's a dad line for true and through, my man. So
I'll tell my wife I'm taking my shotgun for a walk. I'll see you at 9 a.m. or whatever, when I'm back.
I hear you. So Nate, we brought you on. One, actually, you have been requested for the podcast to talk about some average Jack Archery stuff, but two, because you're affiliated and work for Huntworth, which is another PA-based company. Like you said, we're proud PA boys, and we love to highlight PA companies. So if you don't mind doing just a total quick overview intro of yourself, just so the listeners know who you are.
Yeah, so my name is Nate Sellers, obviously. I'm in central Pennsylvania. I own Average Jack Archery Pro Shop and Range. It's a bow shop. That's one of the 17 different jobs it seems I have on a daily basis, but that's in Phillipsburg, like I said, which is not too far from Penn State University, so right in the center of the rectangle. I'm from the Clearfield area, so for our Pennsylvania listeners, I hunt Management Unit 2E a lot in the mountains, a lot of the elk range and whatnot. And my main job, my 9 to 5, is I work for Huntworth Gear. I'm one of the national marketing directors. So everything from working with guys like you on podcasts or YouTube channels like my own or television shows. And then I do a lot of product development and testing. And I work a lot on our e-commerce side. So in a past life, I was a middle school English teacher for 10 years. And so I've got a lot of, writing skills in my blood, if you will. So I spent a lot of time writing for the website, writing for products, a lot of the newfangled SEO stuff, that's all the rage today. And so those are kind of many of the hats that I wear, and it keeps me busy. I'm doing Huntworth at 9 to 5. I work the shop nights and weekends. So in the interim, I find time for my wife and kid and to shoot competitively as well. But it keeps me busy, and I love working in the industry full time. It has been a dream come true.
Sweet. I will say that the website's very well put together, and I didn't see any words misspelled in there, so you're doing a great job, man.
Oh, now I'm going to have to hide some. I'm going to have to deliberately hide some misspelled words.
You just have to flip-flop some letters here and there, and I'm like, that's PA Company there, boy.
That's right there. Dadgum.
Oh, man. So how long have you been putting in for your elk tag up there then?
So fun story. I love listening to them. I love seeing them.
Yeah.
I don't.
Really?
I got a bunch of really close friends. Some of them are actually on the competitive shooting circuit, who are elk guides. I live in the elk range, and they're elk guides, and they come into my store and they share cool things. And I've done videos with some of the elk crews. But I personally have no desire to hunt them. They're beautiful creatures, but I don't know. A Pennsylvania elk just doesn't intrigue me.
Yeah.
It seems like it's just a giant whitetail in our own backyard. But man, they are impressive critters here.
They sure are. And we get some of the most impressive on this whole eastern side of the U.S. I mean, we get some really big elk in Pennsylvania. So
huge.
It's a little surprising to hear it, but I guess if you've grown up in it, it would be a little different. Like us, we're just far enough away. We're a couple hours and we're in elk country. And it's like, that's enough of a bubble that we're still very intrigued and interested in. Growing up, my dad actually drew for a cow elk tag and went out and shot one with his bow. And he was like, you know what? It was honestly like hunting cattle is what he told me. He said, you kind of just stayed on their path and here they come and you walk through and you picked one and you shot it. But if you got drawn for a bull tag, that would be something special. Like, people go their whole lives and never get drawn, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's an amazing, and so one of the guys that I'm very close to, I work on his. He has two sons, both in their teenage years, and I work on all their bows. And I actually accidentally ran into him in a Rural King store the other day, and he was showing me all the bulls they were and these guys are guiding on public land. Like these bulls are completely available. It's not like out west where you get these massive ranches, No, these bulls are in people's backyards that butts up the public. I mean, it's all available to them, and they're shooting like 370, 380 inch bulls. I mean, just absolute behemoths, and they're still wild animals. Yeah, it's not as, I hear you, your dad's experience. They're not as free ranging, if you will, because if they got a food plot that the Game Commission plans, they're going to hang around, but you still got to get within bow range. Yeah. If they wind you, they see it's over. They're still a wild animal. But they are getting on some absolute behemoths. If you really wanted to have a shot at shooting, an easier shot at shooting a really world-class bull, Pennsylvania elk, not Colorado, not Utah. Pennsylvania elk's actually a really good place to start.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like there's guys like out west in Wyoming and Idaho and Colorado, like you were just saying, they would literally give their pinky toe to like get an opportunity at one of those elk. Mm-hmm. I mean, you really do have a shot at a world-class elk in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. And I will say, to put some context to, like, when my dad drew that tag back then, they didn't draw that many tags. It was a very rare thing to pull a tag at all, and not that many people hunted. And actually, the section he shot his elk in is no longer huntable. You can't even hunt in that little section anymore. They've posted it all off. It was like right by one of the visiting areas.
Oh yeah.
So he's like, yeah, these elk literally were up in the visiting area, and they come down into the woods and they walked right past me. Oh no. That's we call them headland rolls. That's one of them things that after you've done it, and legally, of course, then it becomes a role after.
Yes.
You can't hunt there anymore. Yeah. So, hey, at least you got it while you got it. Oh, man. But we didn't come here to talk about elk. I just had to touch on that because I figured, if I ever draw my elk tag, I got to talk to somebody. So you'll be the first person I come to if that's cool. And you can
I'll put you on one.
Yeah, you can.
I got you.
Hook me up.
Oh, yeah.
I appreciate that. You'll have to let me know, what section I have to apply for because there's 1 through
I think it's 1 through 10,
10,
I think, or
11,
12,
12 something
Yeah.
like that.
Oh, yeah. I think it was up to 12 now.
It's expanding.
Yeah, they have it. They have broken
Which
up.
is really
Yes.
nice to see that our elk herd is expanding and becoming more free range elsewhere. That's cool. That's cool, man. All right. So before we jump into Huntworth, I want to talk a little bit more about yourself. I kind of did some creeping around. First off, you're a saddle hunter. We have to mention that because, if you're a saddle hunter like us, then you're cool. So we gotta bring it up, right?
Oh, yeah.
How long you been saddle hunting?
So I've been saddle hunting since before the methodology I used to remember is before Tethered was a company. So 2018-ish. Right before I was on YouTube and I was doing these hang and hunt videos with an XOP tree stand. I was trying to get a lighter setup. I was running a really big metal old man climber and I killed so many deer out of it. It was just 30 some pounds. And I had a guy called G2 Outdoors send me a message on YouTube. It was like, hey, you should try the saddle thing. Well, it turns out G2 is Greg Godfrey.
Yeah.
He's one of the owners of Tethered. And we're talking, and this is, like I said, pre-Tethered. So I go and watch his videos, and he's taking a sit drag, which is not supposed to be taken off the ground, and stitching it to a saddle or a rock climbing harness, making his own bridge out of rope and then climbing a tree with it. And I was like, that is the sketchiest thing I've ever seen. And then I also realized that I'm 6'4", 220. So and that's before gear. So I'm a pretty big dude. And Greg, after meeting Greg, is 4'9", 110 pounds. And so I was like, dude, this is not for me. I'm huge. There's no way this works. I would look like this giant, tumor on the side of a tree. He's like, you got to try it. And so I gave it a stab and I made my own saddle. I took a rock climbing harness. Everything was safe. I used wild edge steps to climb up a tree because that was the lightest method of attachment at that point, unless you went the lone wolf sticks. And I climbed up a tree and I had this spot on this edge of this. There's an old CRP drag that went down to this marshy corner, and the bucks always were in this marshy corner, but I could never get close enough in a climber because all the trees were these really ratty dogwoods and only 6 inches in diameter. And I was like, well, screw it. I can get up a tree 6 inches in diameter. So I went up the tree. I know I always needed to climb. And on opening morning, I shot a 9-point at 8 yards. And I was like, that was the answer to all of my problems. That was 100. And I've always hunted public since I became an adult. I lost all my access to private land that I grew up on as a kid. And so from 17 until now, I've always hunted public. And so I've always had to be in these little nooks and crannies, these really overlooked tight spots. And saddle hunting really opened up the door. And so in 2019, I started working with Tethered when Greg and Ernie and them started the company. And I went to the ATA show and they gave me a prototype of the Phantom saddle. And I still have, I don't hunt on it anymore, but I still have that saddle and I've been doing it ever since. Awesome. And I think I've sat in 2 tree stands since, and none of them were mine. Buddies set them up or whatnot. Since 2018, 2019. So yeah, I turned the page on the saddle hunting and never looked back. And it's been a huge benefit to my hunting style and whatever I do.
Yeah. Yeah, so you're you're almost one of the OG cool kids then,
Pretty
basically.
much, man.
I'm one of the OG kids. I don't want to say the OG cool kids. I'm definitely one of the OG kids.
You need to do you get a badge with that?
No, you just kind of get weird looks from people. It's kind of, I haven't been around, Eberhardt's been around long enough that it's oh wow, this dude's been saddle hunting since the 70s, that's cool. If you're yeah, I've been hunting since right before all these companies came out, and everyone's yeah, you're not far back enough, It's like calling a 1994 Honda Civic vintage. It's not, it's just old, no one really cares.
It's close.
It's close, but no cigar, So yeah, but I will say the cool thing is the perspective that I was at is I was able to, there was nobody my size saddle hunting. Like truthfully, there was nobody my size saddle hunting. 6'4", 250, 300 pounds, 6'2". And so it was cool. I got a lot of guys right off the gate that were like, wow, like I thought that'd be really difficult to climb. I'd be too heavy, or this doesn't look safe. Those ropes look like dental floss. I'm like, listen, I hang upside down. Like, and that was actually a really cool thing that I will say, because it looked like it had to be this really young man's and I'm not super athletic. I'm not light. And so it was really cool to be able to, from the right off the get-go, get other dudes who are built like me, who look like me, and, get them into saddle hunting when they thought all I could do is sit in a big summit climb or even a 2-man ladder stand just to hold my weight and hold my size. And we were able to prove that that's not the case.
Yeah. Back then, what were you using as like a platform back in the early days?
So with that Wild Edge Step DIY sit drag thing, I took an old River's Edge steel tree stand, and I unbolted the seat and the post that holds the seat to the platform, wrapped the whole thing in paracord to deaden the noise, and then I would ratchet strap it with 2 ratchet straps to the tree.
Oh my.
Yeah, and I would stand on the folded down seat. That was my platform to get up the tree.
How far we've come.
Dude. Yeah, I mean, I still have all those parts. I still keep them. It's kind of like, a proof of concept, right? Here's where Steve Jobs started with his computer, type thing. It's still in my shop. And to see like, wow, that thing should have snapped underneath me and I should have died. So glad that we don't do that anymore. But like I killed, I think 2 deer out of it before I finally got a real platform. That's awesome. And just to show you that it could work. It wasn't incredibly safe, but it did work. And I was stealth stripping everything and paracord wrapping. It was truly in the early days of concept of people really getting their DIY hands on saddle hunting. Yeah. Nowadays there's an answer to every problem. Somebody, if it's not made, somebody can 3D print it for you. I mean, it really is that case anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty wild. I used to run the Wild Edge steps there for a little while. I even did the Nader Swader thing with them, and I'll be honest, it was it was actually a really efficient way to climb the tree with very little weight from back in those days. And I liked it. Actually, saddle hunting's funny part. Austin, I remember us sitting, I think, in this garage talking about it, and Austin like, what the hell are you talking about, dude? You're nuts. And I was like, yeah, I am, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to tell my friend Sam, and he's going to get into it first and let us know how it is. And that's exactly how it worked for us. He went and bought all the stuff. He started doing it. We tried it, and we've been on board ever since. So that was like the first year too. That would have been 2019 when Tethered came out, right?
Yeah, right around that year. Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy, man. And here we are, 7 short years later, and like you said, the whole world is carbon and everything is lightweight.
Oh, it feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah. Insane. Cool, man. Cool. That's good. I like that story, and it's funny, when you kill your first one. We had a buddy on a couple episodes ago that killed his first archery deer ever out of a saddle, and I was like, that is the coolest thing ever, because what it does for you, with the mobile game and moving around, it is second to none for sure. All right.
Yeah, that'd be wild to kill your first one out of it.
Could you imagine?
That would be wild.
I mean, he hunted for a long time, but he never archery hunted. So then he finally got an archery hunt and just dove all in and kills his first deer. And by the way, it was also an absolute stud buck.
Really nice Pennsylvania buck.
It would be a stud, right?
Yeah.
It's just
how it works. Yeah. It's just how it works. All right. So we got to know a little bit about you. Let's jump into Average Jack Archery. Kind of bring us into where that all started, man. Where did you come up with the idea that you wanted to own an archery shop and kind of do those things?
So I geek out on archery. It's always been a thing. When I was a kid, so obviously, when we were all starting to hunt and whatnot in Pennsylvania, you couldn't hunt until you were 12. And so when I was 10, I got my first bow. When I was 11, I started shooting it kind of with relative consistency. And when I was 12, I started hunting with a bow, and I had a little Alpine Micro Midas, a little tiny thing, and I was shooting like 40 pounds, like 27 inches, and which I understand is for like some 27 inches is a grown man's draw length for some people, but at 12, that was my draw length pretty much. And I just had a blast. I never killed anything when I was 12. I was 14 when I shot my first deer with a bow, but I just had a blast. When I was 13, I went to this like kind of like a summer camp thing, but it was based off of law enforcement. It was kind of called Camp Cadet, which I don't think it still exists, but it was in central Pennsylvania. And they had this firearm shooting thing as part of it. And we shot 22 long rifles at 25 yards, and I put 25 shots into the X-ring, which I think was about the size of a golf ball with iron sights. And my parents come up and pick me up from camp, and the camp instructor comes over to my dad and says, Nathan is really good at shooting firearms. Like, this is impressive. You should think about him getting into competitive shooting sports. And so I joined my local 4-H club. They didn't have archery, which I really loved, but they did have guns. And so I started shooting that. I actually ended up competing at the state and international levels in air rifles, kind of like what you see at the Olympics, although not at the same scale. And I was shooting a lot, and I would go to the local clubs, and I would do all this stuff. We'd travel the state. We ended up traveling the country. I ended up podium a couple places, but I always loved archery more. Guns were cool, but archery was even cooler. And when I turned 16, you leave the youth divisions and you start shooting in the adult divisions when you're shooting firearms. And I was getting my butt whooped in guns. And I was like, this is stupid. I'm going to go shoot archery and exclusively. So I went and shot archery exclusively, and I still was getting my butt handed to me in the adult classes, but I enjoyed it a lot more. Fast forward to when all through high school and college, I kept shooting and bow hunting, killing deer and whatnot. And my wife and I meet, and we get married, and I'm doing all this stuff, and I'm working for people like on their bows in our basement. And I would finish up stuff, and I'd come up for dinner, and I'd be telling her all this dumb stuff. And she's like, will you stop telling me and just like make videos and put this on YouTube? Like, you have all this stuff floating around in your head. Just put it, you're a school teacher, for Pete's sake. Just teach people about it on the internet. So I grabbed the handy cam, our family handy cam, and I went to the basement and I made a video on how to make your own lighted nocks. And it like blew up, just like 100,000 views, just something out. And this time it was 2014 of YouTube. This was not like viral YouTube yet.
Yeah, that's like millions nowadays.
That's millions, and like anybody can do that, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, well that works. So then I started making more, like how to buy a bow, how to find your drawing, and it's all me. Like, you can go, it's like me with hair, and I'm in the basement next to the washing machine, right? And I'm wearing like an awful outfit, like my daughter who's just born is like grunting in a baby seat just off camera, but I was making videos, and I was talking about bow hunting, I was talking about archery and how to fletch arrows and stuff, and it just kept growing. And like I said, I was a school teacher, so I had summers off. So all summer I had time to like film and do this kind of stuff and practice and everything. And we were married, we were having kids, and so I gave up competitive archery. I just kind of went to local y'all come and shoot things. But then in 2018, Mike saw him over at Magnus Broadhead, so I'll never forget. He found me on YouTube and he sent me an email and he said, I want to send you some broadheads. And I said, wow, this is cool. Like, I'm getting a sponsorship. No, I'm not getting a sponsorship. He's sending me broadheads. But he sent me broadheads, and I used them, and I had used Magnus in the past, but I just was like, this is something I want to pursue. And so I asked Mike, I said, will you let me into the ATA show with Magnus? And he said, absolutely. And the star was born. By this point, I had met other people on the internet, like Greg Godfrey. I'd started talking to other people in the space. Like at the time, Sean McVay from Sean's Outdoor Adventures, who was like the biggest hunting YouTube channel at the time. I talked with him several times. And so I felt like I was kind of getting part of something. So then I started covering the ATA, and I started getting back into shooting competitively again, and local stuff. And then eventually we got to a point where like my wife was like, I think one day you'll leave teaching and start a shop. And I was like, there's no freaking way. Like, teaching is not a money maker, but at least it's solid income and benefits and all that sort of stuff, and a pension plan. And then when COVID hit, teaching went to a hot place in a handbasket, and just how education went. And I was like, well, maybe we should think about starting a shop. And so we looked around, and We found a building. We found a landlord that was willing to work with us. And in 2022, we opened up Average Jack Archery in Phillipsburg.
That's
And
awesome.
it was huge. And of course, and I'm assuming in your guys' part of the state just as much as in ours, the number of bow shops has just dwindled drastically.
Yep.
A lot of the older generation is retiring. They're getting out of it. Making money in archery is not very fiscally responsible. As a shop owner, I can say that with absolute certainty. That it's hard to make a living off it unless you're quite large. And so a lot of shops have closed. A lot of people don't have places to turn to and go to. And so when we opened up in Phillipsburg, we were right in the middle part of the state. A lot of bow hunters needed a place to go, and we exploded overnight. And so we're in a very solid footing with our customer base. It's only growing every single year. We started off with like 1 8-foot section of slat wall, and now we have like 36 linear feet of slat wall with all the accessories and arrows and broadheads, and 4 bow companies and 3 crossbow companies. And it's just really, really awesome to see it. It will never become my full-time job, and I'll say it for anybody who wants to start a shop. I don't recommend it being a full-time job, but it has been such a blessing to do it, and it allows me to travel the country and shoot in tournaments. It allows me to be involved in the outdoor industry, and it's been really cool to see the dude who just started at 12 years old in his backyard shooting hay bales now is living his dream.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, man. And I couldn't even imagine being a teacher in these days, like with the online learning and the virtual stuff and everything else. I mean, it's got to be probably the most difficult. Not only that, but kids today too, they have, I have coached young children, so I know how this works, at least from the coaching standpoint. Like I coached junior high this year, 7th and 8th graders. Their attention span is that of a gnat, maybe half of a gnat's attention span. Like I couldn't imagine trying to actually teach these kids on a day-to-day. So God bless you for that you were a teacher first off. I totally respect it because I couldn't do it. Could not do it.
I love the kids. Whenever people ask, what grade did you teach? I tell them middle school, and I taught middle school English, which is like middle school science you can get away with because you're like lighting stuff on fire, and things like that. History, you can make it kind of fun with some videos, movie day or whatever, but English is always the kid's bottom of the barrel decision, if he had to rank his favorite subject. And so I tell people, if I can convince a 12-year-old that adjectives and subject predicate agreements is an enjoyable thing for them to learn, then I can convince you to learn just about anything. And so that actually laid a huge groundwork for me in archery. But yeah, I'm so glad I'm out of it now. I love the kids. It was great. But I'm very, very thankful to be out of it because it was not going well when I left. And so I pity anybody who's getting into education right now.
I don't know, Nate. I mean, I can think back to my middle school days, and we did have movie day. I don't know if you remember the movie, but conjunction junction, what's your function?
Function, hooking up words and phrases and clauses. Dude, don't even get me started.
Who doesn't love that, man?
Did everybody have that video?
I can quote you almost 90% of Schoolhouse Rock. Like it's a problem. It's a problem. It is.
That's hilarious.
Tell me you were a 90s kid without telling me you were a 90s kid.
Right?
Yeah, it's
100%.
Dude, my foot is tapping right now. You can't see it, but it's like I'm ready to go.
Oh my God, that is great. I'm so glad you brought that up because that was so lost in the memory bank.
Oh yeah, dude. As soon as he brought that up, that he was a middle school English teacher,
I was going to make some
head.
kind of funny joke about the fact that he used 2 words and I still don't know what they were. So I was one of those kids that probably didn't do too well in English class growing up.
Dude, I just have like a Rolodex of Schoolhouse Rock flashing before my eyes right now. Like it's just like straight PTSD going on in my head right now. Schoolhouse Rock. Holy smokes.
I am so sorry for your insomnia tonight.
Just Pandora's box. I'm going to be laying in bed tonight. I'm just a bill. Yes, I'm only about. Oh man, it's bad. Anyway, move on.
Shit. I'll be honest. I don't even remember what I was going to bring up next. I had 2 points to touch on. One was the teacher thing, and the other one, it's gone.
I just derailed the whole thing.
Yeah, it's totally gone.
It's derailed, but it's good.
No, it's good. So that's what I was going to bring up. Being an owner of an archery shop, honestly, when I think about it, it sounds like it kind of sucks during season because I know it, I see it. People like they put everything off to the last minute, and then you get flooded 2 weeks before archery season, throughout archery season. I'm sure you're busy as hell. Is that the case, or is it more of, you know, since you're the owner of the shop, you can kind of make your own hours, you can get out hunting a little bit?
Well, so it's interesting. You'll never get everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that has happened, you know, so we opened up in 2022. So we had 2022, 2023, 2024. Now we're in our fourth year, 2025. One thing that we've been able to do a lot of is spread the word. And that not only about the shop. It's funny, you know, we have a shop in downtown Phillipsburg. We're in central part of the state. And we have people that come in, they're like, how long have you been here? Oh, this is our fourth year. Oh, man, I live 15 minutes away. I didn't even know. Okay, that happens all the time.
Yeah.
But more importantly, we'll get a guy that comes in, he's like, hey, and it's like right now, February, March, April. He comes in and he goes, yeah, I was talking to my buddy at work about getting new strings on my bow before season. And he goes, oh, go do it now. That's what Nate tells me to do. And so I'm slowly starting to, and I'm still, like I said, I'm maybe touching 10% of the population.
Yeah.
But that's 10% I don't have to deal with in August, September, October. I'm starting to get to them and say, hey, you know when the best time to get strings and cables done in your bow or to get arrows or major work done? It's during turkey season. Like the best time is during turkey season. And a lot of people say, okay, well, I'll come see you in February. I said, no, that's not turkey season. Because what people don't understand is that as a shop owner, the sucky part about being a shop owner, this is the worst part. It's not the people. Although we always make the joke, you know, retail is great if it worked for the customer.
Right.
But the big thing is that people don't understand is that archery shops are buying all of their product at once in a certain window, and then they are sitting on it to sell it all in a 3-month window. August, September, October. We sit on most of our product. So we then let the shelves go bare so that we can catch up on bills and everything else through indoor season, which runs through January. And then we start the process all over again. So right now in February, the ATA show just wrapped up here in January. And I went to the ATA show and I talked to all my reps online or whatever. And I've ordered all of my product for the year, all of it, pretty much. And it's starting to come in batches, and all of it will pretty much be in by like end of April, right? So right before turkey season here in Pennsylvania. And then, so what that means is May, June, July, I am sitting there in the shop with nobody coming in with completely full shelves and nothing but time on my hands. So I tell people, if you want something to happen immediately and you're first in line, come see me in turkey season. You come see me in turkey season, string builders can build you a string set in like a week. I can turn it around to you in like 5 minutes because I have nothing better to do.
Yeah.
You need a dozen arrows. Guess what? You can pick your favorite color fletching. That's, you know, you want gold tips? Oh, I got orange, green, blue, red, yellow. Well, when you come in September 15th, it's all gone. It's all been picked over. And now you're pissed because you don't get what you want. I'm like, well, you should have come during turkey season. So I'm starting to get people to come around the corner. But yeah, most people do show up. It's not as overblown as people like to make it. Like, I want this done now. And it's like the season opens tomorrow. But people are starting to learn that, like, if you come to me on August 15th and you're like, why is it taking 4 weeks for strings to come in? I'm like, well, because you and every other Tom, Dick, and Harry in all the other 50 states is also ordering strings from Gas or Zebra or whatever, and it's taking extra long to get them here. My labor time is quick. The actual making of the product is not nearly as quick.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's still a very busy 3-month window, but it's getting better. And I still do enjoy it. If I'm not busy, I don't know what to do with myself. So I do appreciate the busy season.
Yeah, I was actually gonna ask because this got brought up the other day in our Patreon group. We have a little Marco Polo group that we talk kind of like a video app type deal with everybody in our Patreon group, and they were going back and forth on.
I actually know one of the developers know one of the developers who makes the Marco Polo app. Yeah,
no
absolutely.
Shit. Yeah, so it's a phenomenal app. Let him know that I love it, but also at the same time, maybe the worst app I've ever paid for. So let him know that.
That is classic. That is awesome.
It is one of the greatest things that I've ever gotten involved with in my life with this whole outdoor thing. Like, it is the best way to bring people together, by the way, and like meet people. Don't get me wrong. It's phenomenal. But the strings was the topic the other day that came up in the group. So is that who you're mostly getting your strings from? Gas, Zebra, who's some of the big names, or who would you kind of recommend?
So I carry a little bit of everything, specifically because there's different price points for everything. Now I shoot for Gas bowstrings, and they are, in my opinion, the number. And I would say that before I even shot with them, that they make the best strings on the market by a country mile. The customization, the quality control, the build quality from Gas is just phenomenal. So they're your top end string set. They're going to be about $140 for a string set. And then you can go a couple steps down. Let's say you don't need something that customizable. You can go with like Zebra, for example, or Match bowstrings now from Matthews. And that's much more reasonable. Let's say you have an older bow. You don't need fancy. You just want black strings. It's an older bow. Now you're looking at like a 3-piece set would be like $100. So you save $40, right? So I carry a little bit of everything. I also do like carrying, I'll give him a shout out, Kelly Weathersby, who just actually won the Lancaster Classic in the senior class. He makes Beeline Bowstrings. He's the owner of Beeline Bowstrings, which is out of Tyrone, PA. And we sell his strings because he's a local option, right? So we like giving people a local option. He's about $100 for a string set. So, we like saying, hey, this guy is a pro level shooter, shoots really well. He makes strings, and they're like, yeah, I'll do that. I'll support a local guy. So we carry a little bit of everything to kind of meet whatever price points, that someone wants, or whatever customization. We carry America's Best Bowstrings. We carry Winner's Choice as well. So yeah, if you can't find a string company that you want, then you're a little bit pickier than I would even care to deal with.
That's awesome, man. I really love to hear like the local kickback too from guys in PA that are getting it done and making something happen. That's really cool to see that a bow shop is recognizing that and not just, going after profits or whatever, That's cool.
Oh yeah, I make next to nothing on Kelly's strings. I like giving him business. I like showing the support for the local stuff. That means a lot to people. It means a lot to me as a small town PA boy. And so, yeah, I love, and he's he was in my shop shooting tonight. I consider him a good friend. So it's a good deal. Cool.
And I know we're not even going to have enough time to kind of cover like what you do as far as competition shooting and whatnot. I guess the last time I reached out to you to get a hold of you, you were shooting at the Lancaster, which was cool. Our good buddy and Patreon member, Mikey Fennel, shout out to Mikey. He was shooting bare bow there as well that weekend. So we got kind of the inside scoop and insight from him on how that was going. So pretty cool, man. And it was a tough beat there. 1 point. That hurts, man.
It hurts. It hurts a lot, but it's, we have a lot of good local competition guys. We have guys that are really good at paper indoors, like Lancaster, Vegas. We have a lot of dudes that are really good outside on 3D targets. And so it's funny because archers, no matter what level they're at, are all kind of the same. They could be professionals. They could be straight up bare bow amateurs, right? And they could just be at it for the love of the game. But all of them are there because they love archery and they love shooting bows with people. And it's so cool to see some of the best in the world just be the most humble, down-to-earth human beings. You don't see that in a lot of high-level anything. But for some reason, archery is just the most down-to-earth. You can walk up to like Levi Morgan, who's like a 15-time pro shooter of the year and won all these medals and everything. You can walk up to him and be like, hey, Levi, and he'll be like, hey, how's it going? And he'll just start having a conversation with you. I mean, try doing that with like, I don't know, an NFL quarterback or an NBA superstar or something. It's not the same. And it's really cool. It's really, really cool. And I'm very happy to be part of the competition circuit because it really is a very unique family.
That's cool, man. Yeah, I've always heard that too. Our buddy Mike, he's always told us like some of the guys at the top of the bare bow class, even from where he's at, like they're some of his biggest mentors as well. Like he leans on these guys. They constantly give him insight and advice, and they're rooting him on. And it's like it's just a whole different ball game when you deal with archery compared to anything else out there. And so we've heard that as well, which is, it's nice. It's refreshing. I mean, you'd like to think that was everything, even in the outdoor range, but we know some different companies, and we'll get into some camouflage, because maybe those Sitka wearing guys, they're not that cool, but we'll exclude them from the rest of the outdoor world. What do you think, Austin?
I'm game for it, buddy.
No, we got some good friends that wear Sitka. They're okay people. They're okay. Marty
Like
Frucci,
the
I'm
world's
talking about.
okayest hunter. Yeah, it's okay. It's all right.
All right, so we're a little over halfway through this thing. I want to give a shout out again. Average Jack Archery. Go visit the website, averagejackarchery.com. Go check out the YouTube channel. Give Nate all the love. Looks like you're doing some phenomenal stuff over there, man. So congratulations on all your successes, and hopefully more to come with the archery side of thing, man, for sure. So now let's get into the meat and taters here. You really got brought on for this Huntworth conversation. So we got multiple people in our group that have gone all in on Huntworth recently. The heat boost when it's gotten cold out. I mean, full sets. They're coming on and they are telling us how much they absolutely love Huntworth. It's like, all right, I know who Huntworth is. You're in our back door, basically, our neighborhood, more or less. You're right there, just south of us. There's Huntworth, right? Pittsburgh. We like to think of us as Pittsburgh guys, even though we're, 40 miles north.
Yeah, something like that.
we're more or less, if someone asks, we're from Pittsburgh. So it was like, all right, let's do it. Huntworth. Let's talk about Huntworth. So I don't even know where to begin with this whole conversation. I guess, why don't you bring us in on kind of where Huntworth came into play for you and why you believe in them?
Yeah, so Huntworth this year, 2025, is celebrating 25 years in business, which is cool. That is, you don't get to say that much in today's day and age. And you don't get to say that much as 25 years in business as a family-owned and operated company. Neil and Karen, husband and wife, they own the company. They've always owned the company from the get-go. It started in their garage, in their house in the Pittsburgh area. And it has grown to, now they have, home office and warehousing and everything right there in Pittsburgh. We can see the lights of Acrisure Stadium, which will for always be called Heinz Field, but Acrisure Stadium. And it's downtown Pittsburgh, and they bleed black and gold and just have always been there. It's a really, really unique company just in terms of the people that work there. So in 2018, 2019 timeframe, the guy that was running their marketing department at the time almost exclusively, his name was Tracy Breen, who he himself has been in the outdoor industry for a long time. He found me on YouTube and was like, hey, you're local to Pennsylvania. I've been charged to come find, hunters. I'm representing this company called Huntworth, and I had never heard of Huntworth, right? And I live in central Pennsylvania, never heard of Huntworth, never heard of their camos or whatever. And he's like, it'd be interesting for us to send you some of their clothing and just, let us know what you think about it. You live in a cold climate. We want to send you some warm stuff. And this is before heat boost was even invented yet. And they're like, we want to send you some of our proprietary camouflages that we make ourselves. And I was like, sure, whatever, because as a YouTuber, you get all these requests from companies or whatnot, and then you never hear from them again. And they sent me this clothing, and I tried it on, and I was blown away. And this is coming from a guy who used to buy and own Sitka. And I was absolutely blown away by the quality of the clothing. I loved the pattern. I was sent Disruption, which is their digital pattern. And I was a sucker for it immediately the moment I laid eyes on it. So I made a video about it very quickly. And I made a video, and I sent it over to Tracy, and he sent it over to Neil and Karen. And then I didn't hear anything for like 2 weeks. And I was like, okay, whatever, it fell through. Neil and Karen, call me from their conference room. And this was the first time I'd ever spoken to the owners of a business before. And I was floored, absolutely floored. Who am I? Just some dude on YouTube. And they wanted to know my honest feedback. They're like, we wanted to know a hunter's perspective who's in this cold temperature, what your feedback is. And I was on the phone with them for probably an hour. And they said, we want you to come down into Pittsburgh. and meet our team and meet what's going on. And I didn't know anything about them at this point. I just knew they were a company. And so I go into Pittsburgh and I meet them and I meet the people there. And I mean, it's just all, for those who are from the Pennsylvania, Ohio area, like everybody graduated from Kent State or Penn State or Slippery Rock or Art Institute of Pittsburgh.
Pitt.
Just all these small town, all these small town, these blue collar grassroots. A guy graduated from Clarion, who the manager of our warehouse graduated from Clarion. And for those you don't know, it's just a small little school in rural Pennsylvania.
That guy just went to party, by the way. He was just there to party.
Yeah, he went. But I will say he's a rugby player, an ex-rugby player. Dude,
Nice.
Stacked.
Yeah.
I don't mess with him. Josh, if you ever hear this, I love you, but you're stacked. He's huge.
Dude, Claire,
Anyway,
yeah,
and
go
I just
ahead.
meet all these. I meet all these people, and I'm like, this is cool. This is something different. And so over the course of the next like 4 or 5 years, they had me do more freelance stuff for them. They sent me prototypes of heat boost, and I'm like, what kind of witchcraft nonsense is this? I tried it on and almost melted into a puddle of person. I was so hot. I was like, this is real, all this sort of stuff. And I was helping develop garments kind of behind the scenes a little bit. And then 2 years ago in 2023, I was very unhappy in school. I really wanted out. And Neil and Karen was like, hey, we want to come see your shop. We'd love to come see your shop sometime. And I was like, that'd be great. And they came up to see the shop, and we kind of gave them the tour, and they wanted to show me a prototype of a camouflage, which we've now launched, which is Vertex. And they, at the end of it, kind of the doorknob question as they're leaving, they're like, hey, we have this really weird request. If you know anybody who works in the outdoor industry that's a writer and knows how to manage people, we would love to talk to them about hiring them for a position. Who's always been the driving factor, everything. She got the shop started and all sorts of stuff. She's behind the counter, and she goes, well, why don't you ask Nate? Because I'm an English teacher and I manage grown children for a living and middle schoolers and all sorts of stuff. And they're like, well, you wouldn't want to move to Pittsburgh. I said, no, but what do you want me to do? And they're like, we need a marketing director. We don't have one. And I said, well, maybe we can try it remotely. We tried it remotely for a week, and it was like, it was just, I don't even know how to describe it. It was like a hand to a glove. I mean, it was a perfect fit. And they're like, we want to hire you full time as a salary employee. And I was just like fire alarms and church bells and everything was going off. I was over the moon. And so I became part, and I believed in them so much because I've been with them for so long already. And so I 2 years ago in 2023 in August, I quit my job as a teacher and I joined Huntworth full time. And I've been managing the marketing side of things, wearing 47 different hats. And I still work remotely. I go down to Pittsburgh a couple times a month and work in office and see everybody and work with the team on very important, stuff that's not easily done over a Zoom call. But yeah, it's just been huge, and to see Huntworth's growth, and we've launched a new camo pattern, all this new textiles, and all this new clothing opportunities, and just the growth of Huntworth even in the past 18 months has been astronomical, and I'm so excited to see where they'll go in the next couple of years.
That's badass, man. And I'm not going to just kiss your ass with this one, but I think you're doing a great job because, prior to basically when you took over, Huntworth was always kind of like, hey, that's that stuff that's in Walmart, the hats and gloves.
Yes.
Like, that's that Walmart camo, right? That's Huntworth. This is the same company. And then now, I mean, honestly, since about that same time, it's been like blown up everywhere. You're starting to hear about it on podcasts and different places that people that you look up to or believe in their word, they're talking about Huntworth, and it's like you start to see their actual camo. And I don't know if I'm the same way as you guys, but you're in the airport and you see a guy wearing camo, you start to look at it. What's he wearing? What is that pattern?
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10 in Pittsburgh airport, it was Huntworth. I'm like, oh, that's Huntworth. That's disruption. That's the one that sticks out. When I see someone wearing it, I'm like, oh, okay, that kind of looks pretty cool. But I'm glad you mentioned Vertex too, because honestly, that's the pattern that caught my eye. I don't know. I was going to get into some questions with you since you're a PA guy and you obviously hunt the same stuff we hunt, Big Woods, Pennsylvania. And you said you like disruption, but the Vertex pattern to me seems like a really good all around, all season kind of wear.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with any of them. This is a question we get daily. I live someone sends in an email, calls the office, and it gets forwarded to me, and they're like, hey, I live in state X.
Mm-hmm.
Which pattern should I go with? And I will say this to their face with absolute certainty. And I actually was on like a phone call a couple weeks ago with the guy for like a half hour because he kept trying to get me to tell him what camo to buy. And I said, we've designed all of our patterns to work anywhere, like literally with any species, any time of year. And people call BS on that. And it's true. Like it is not a marketing ploy. The guy who develops our camos, Mike, is an absolute genius. This blows my mind. One dude develops camo. One guy who is one of the most brilliant coloration, fractalization, it's not even a word, just developers who just understands how to make camo. And just how to conceal and how to make light absorb and reflect and just all this sort of stuff. And it actually is applied to all three of our different camo patterns. If people knew how much time and effort actually went, if you saw Generation 1 Vertec, when we started it 2.5 years or 3 years ago, we started Vertec development. It looks nothing like what it looks today, not even close. But the proof of concept still has the same roots of what makes a camo pattern and why it's able to work universally. So disruption looks like it's golden brown. It looks like it only belongs in the skyline of the whitetail woods and leaves turn. I hunt in disruption in the greenest of greens in turkey season all the way through the snow of the late season. I don't get picked off. I don't get, I don't feel like I'm ever silhouetted. I don't feel like I'm ever skylined. It truly, even as a pattern that doesn't look like it belongs anywhere. Same thing's true with Vertec, which has a little bit more green to it. Same thing's true of Tarnin, which is more of a tree bark looking pattern. They all really belong just about anywhere. And that frustrates people when I say that, but it's 100% true.
Can I give you what my breakdown of the 4 camos are? Well, 3.
Okay, you do it. Go ahead.
All right. So the way I see it, and I've heard you I'll steal 2 of them because your disruption is like your more digital pattern, your breakup digital pattern. But I can see a lot of the really good browns and darker colors, but there's still some light. So I like disruption as far as like a good tree stand, mid to late season, which you're going to be basically most of archery season in that type of environment. Tarnin, I think Tarnin looks like one of the most badass late season patterns to me. It looks like you would just absolutely disappear in the Pennsylvania late season woods. When all the leaves are down, everything's dull in that later season, and that color in that blend, it's just so natural and smooth. I think that would be a phenomenal late season pattern. And then the Vertec is kind of a good combination of all of them. It's got great coloration, great breakup. I think I could see myself wearing that all season, turkey all the way through archery season until there's snow on the ground. I think I could wear Vertec. And I guess the same is to be said with disruption as well. It's just basically more or less the same color look to it, just a little different pattern, not as digitalized, more consumer friendly in the Vertec pattern when you don't want to be digital, right? And then your hidden is just your twig and leaf. So I was going to leave that one out. That one's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, no, and that is kind of visually how people, you kind of hit the nail on the head, right? Tarnin is a pattern. So disruption is the first pattern that Mike created. It was created in 2016. And then hidden came before it, but 2016 was the first kind of iteration of non-photorealistic, right? Where you're not trying to make you look like a tree, right? We're trying to make you look like nothing. And so 2016 was disruption. Tarnin was the 2018 timeframe, 2019 timeframe, and then 2024 there was Vertec. And so we were able to build off of each one. We were able to kind of go with a color schema that, even though functionally they will work across everything, visually you see as a human, I think this belongs here. So what that does is does 2 things. One, it gives, selfishly, it gives you a reason to buy new camo, right? It gives you a reason to buy a turkey set, an archery set, and then a late season set, right? Which sounds silly, but it's true. But then also it kind of gives a visual cue of, okay, I'm going to plan this for an area of the country where it might be greener longer. Maybe you'll want to go Vertec. believe it or not, Tartan is a phenomenal Western pattern with the rock outcroppings
Oh yeah,
and stuff
for
like
sure.
that. Dude, the Colorado rock outcroppings and the aspen trees, Tartan just absolutely disappears. I mean, it completely disappears. And the disruption really looks like it belongs Michigan, Pennsylvania, New York, Ohio. When everything turns brown and it's just brown and yellow across the board, disruption just looks like it melts. So it definitely does. We tried it, even though we will say if you want to wear disruption in Florida, have at it. You want to wear Vertec in Maine, have at it. But at the end of the day, you're able to then on your own make an executive decision just based on what your own eyes tell you, even though we designed the patterns to work just about anywhere.
I think Tarnan too, like the northern big woods where there's a lot of pine and dark timber. I think that would be really good, like around where my camp is and stuff up in the Tie Nest area.
Mm-hmm.
Like that whole area there, I think that would work phenomenally up there as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you're right. I think I could wear any of those and do just fine. But you made a great point about kind of breaking it down. And I want to jump into your website because I gave you credit on the website and I truly meant it. The biggest pro on your website, like if I had to break it down to pro and con, is your system builder and how like, everything is broken down so simplistically that you can look at that. And when you finally decide what pattern you really like, you can truly break it down to temperature range, then pattern, and you can just go through the step-by-step process until you have a whole page of exactly what you want to look at. And you're not lost in the weeds with all this other stuff. I love that about the website, man.
Yeah, the shop by season going into the system builder, I was not part of the development. That was right before I got hired. So that was Karen's brainchild there. And she did a phenomenal job with it and the understanding of what hunters are looking for. Because other companies and websites have their own kit builder or system builder or whatnot. And it tries to kind of pigeonhole you into, are you going to hunt out of a tree stand? Are you going to hunt whitetails? What's your temperature range?
Right.
And then they kind of base off that. Well, I would rather hunt by just a straight up temperature range. Now, we do give you options for, like, let's say there's a different temperature range for 40 to 70 if you're hunting elk. And there's a different temperature range idea if you're hunting 40 to 70 for whitetail. We're understanding that we want to give you ideas that assume you're going to be sitting for long periods of time, but then also walking for long periods of time when you're an elk hunter. And as a whitetail, you're going to have most of the time a relatively short walk, and then you're going to be sitting. And then you're going to sit some more, and then you're going to go home. So we want to make sure that we give you concepts on both sides that aren't just cookie cutter. We're not just going to say, hey, this is the temperature range, go forth and prosper. We want to actually give it to you in a way that's like, this is the species you're hunting. You need wicking, here you go. You need a little bit more thermal break and windproofing, here you go. And then, being able to shop then exclusively by the pattern that you want, that's also we've got a lot of feedback on that. Like, I just want to see the disruption thing. I just want to see the Vertec things or whatever it may be. People have enjoyed that a lot. We're very happy to have that as part of our website.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. I like the fact that I can dial in, because when I was kind of breaking it down, looking at different things, like I just mentioned what I felt like each pattern was for, I can go into that late season and just look at Tarnan and look what the pattern looks like. And there's great pictures. It shows you kind of how they blend in and everything else. And it's like, man, that is so cool that I can go into every single little detail step by step. And I get more information on kind of what you guys have in your lineup that way than I would just kind of looking at jackets all in one big, bulk amount of all jackets. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's just a more personal kind of feeling for sure. So hats off to Huntworth on the design. I love the layout of the website. So to go from there, I want to know, we're going to ask you some of these cookie cutter questions, right? So the most typical question I would ask if I'm looking at a brand new camouflage company that, in all fairness, I don't know a ton about, and I want to get into Huntworth, where do I start? What pieces are like your go-to? I'm a Pennsylvania boy. I'm going to hunt the Pennsylvania seasons. What do I absolutely need to get started that's going to cover the widest range of what I do as far as hunting goes?
That is a great question, and I answer it every single day, and my answer is always the exact same, and it is the Elkin series. The Elkin series we specifically designed to be the bow hunter's friend. Now, Karen will kill me if she listens to this podcast because she doesn't want me calling it the bow hunter's friend, because anybody can use it in any type of terrain and weather. I get it. But when we wanted to make something, so the Elkin's bibs, I know when I was working with the prototypes of those, I wanted a bib that was a midweight, windproof, ultra quiet bib that I could wear in bow season. And I wanted a two-way leg zipper so I could vent while walking in, and I could zip them up, and I could have windproofing, and I would stay warm. And I didn't need it to go to 20 degrees, but I needed to get to freezing, right around the 30, 32 if I layer up underneath. And that's what the Elkins is. It is a very simple jacket, but yet it's absolutely packed with features. And it's offered in all three camo patterns. We offer it in the jacket, we offer it in the vest, pants, and bib. So you can piecemeal however you want. I spend a lot of time in the earlier parts of the season when it's cooler out, we got a decent amount of wind, but it's not cold, but it's windy and it's just not fun. I'll put on the Elkins vest. So I get a windproofing around my core. I get the lightweight warmth from it, but I don't need anything majorly to overheat with. If it gets colder, obviously I'll go with a jacket. I'll put some hoodie on, a good base layer on, and I can get myself easily down into the mid 30s and even the low 30s if I really pack on insulation layers. That windproofing is the key part. Mm-hmm. The same thing goes within the pants or the bibs. I'm a big bibs guy, so I gravitate towards the bibs. And then the bibs, when I was working with prototyping, I wanted knee patches for saddle hunters. And so the bibs, the pants don't, but the bibs do have knee patches. So if you don't wear knee pads, like I don't wear knee pads, but I do like putting my knees into the tree every now and then. It's a waterproof abrasion patch, so it'll go right into the tree, keep your knee dry, give you something so you don't rip up the clothing off the bark and whatnot. The Elkins series was really designed to take you from that 50 to 30 degree range. It's one of our most flexible garments, and really it's DWR treated, so light rain and moisture will shed off. It's not waterproof, but it is DWR treated and it is windproof. So it really stretches a good portion through archery season. And if you're much more cold tolerant than I am, you could easily get into gun season if you wanted to.
Heck yeah, man. That's awesome. Is there a set or, certain pieces that like Huntworth was built around? Are there like those early on, this is our standard piece?
The jacket and bibs that put us on the map were the Fairbanks jacket and bibs. The Fairbanks jacket and bibs was like the first Huntworth made, ultra warm, waterproof, windproof jacket and bibs. But they were made before heat boost, right? And to dive into heat boost really quick, heat boost is graphene. Graphene is a very conductive material. It's used in the electrical industry a lot. If you think of it, graphene is very related to carbon. And so carbon arrows, right? Carbon is very conductive, right? So that's how you get lighted Nox to work, like Luminox and stuff like that. So graphene is the exact same way. It absorbs things very well. Well, graphene is also very good at absorbing heat, and it holds on to it like a pot of water on the stove. Long after it's done boiling, it stays hot for a long time. And it has a lot of heat absorption. So a very small amount of graphene holds a lot more heat than its actual weight. And so Neil, the owner, found a way to knit graphene into yarn. And they worked on this for years. And so they were able to knit into yarn. So when they were able to knit threads of graphene into yarn, they were able to knit that then into other types of materials we're used to seeing, like Berber fleece or Sherpa fleece or stuff that we're used to seeing in our normal, Carhartt jackets and Duluth jackets and other cold weather things. And so what you're able to do is you're able to have all this extra warm material without adding any bulk to the garment. You're not adding any other fleece or polyfill, but now all of a sudden you've made this, for lack of a better term, you supercharge it. There's no there's no wires, there's no batteries, but you've now made it hold so much more heat than it would if it didn't have that inside of it. And so we're able to put that into what is now the upgrade to the Fairbanks, which is called the Matterhorn. And so the Matterhorn jacket and bibs, we were prototyping it. We said we need to eliminate the bulk because you couldn't bow hunt very, very easily out of the Fairbanks. It's really bulky. And so we were able to eliminate a bunch of the polyfill, which gives it a lot of poof and makes it really difficult to draw a bow. And so we were able to eliminate a bunch of that. We used the graphene Sherpa fleece on the inside of the jacket and bibs. It's still waterproof. It's still windproof. Still has a hood. Still goes down to -10. I mean, it's nuts what this graphene's able to do. And so that now has become our next stepping stone off the Fairbanks, which kind of put Huntworth on the map. And so the Matterhorn jacket and bibs is one of our #1 selling. We make it in all the patterns. It's one of our #1 selling garments. We sell it at both the Farm and Fleet store as well as on our website. So you can find it pretty much anywhere across the country, either in a brick and mortar location or, of course, on huntworthgear.com.
Sweet. That's awesome. The only other thing, I guess, that I kind of noticed that, well, for one, with that heat boost and the graphene is antimicrobial and moisture wicking, which is pretty awesome when you're talking about whitetail hunting. Those two things, they matter. They matter a lot.
They do.
You know, especially when you're walking in, you're sweating. You typically, like you said, whitetail hunting, you walk in, you go and you sit. You sit for a long time. You start sweating, moisture wicks away from your body, maintain heat, and you don't stink. That's the biggest thing. So that's cool, man. That's really neat. I didn't know anything about graphene technology prior to today, so I learned something today.
Yeah, you learn something new every day, man.
That's why he's a good
I'm
teacher.
sitting here looking at the website. I'm like, oh my goodness, I didn't know about any of this.
That's why Nate's a good teacher. See, this is why you got hired. They should have put you in sales, I think, though. I don't know. They might have you wrong.
I mean, that's unfortunately you can't sell anything as an educator. But like I said, if I can sell it to a 12-year-old that learning about nouns and predicates and everything is a good idea, I can probably sell you a heat boost.
Heck yeah.
But the cool thing about selling a heat boost is that as soon as somebody puts it on, they notice it. It's really cool. And I was when they first started developing it, I was like, what is this witchcraft marketing nonsense? Like, come on, like heat boost, like what is this, you know? And I tried it on and I was like, okay, this is real. Like this is a real deal, James Neal. And we've expanded so much in the line on heat boost. You know, we have the Matterhorn and we have the Saskatoon, which is really a design for bow hunting. It's a very ultra lightweight warm jacket and pant. We designed a Grayling hoodie, which is just the best. I mean, I'm not wearing it right now, actually. It's the best hoodie that I've ever felt. It's super warm, quiet, stretchy. It's awesome. So we put in a lot of our hats, gloves, and gaiters. So it just has almost infinite possibilities of what we can do with it. And we got a lot of really cool stuff with it coming for 2025. Very, very excited to share some of that stuff with people this fall. Yeah.
Did I catch a Pittsburgh Penguin James Neal reference there?
Real deal James Neal.
Yeah, thought I did.
I still say that.
Yeah.
You betcha. Best hair in hockey. Is he still? I don't even know if he's still playing.
I doubt it. I think he was towards the back end when he was in Pittsburgh. So I don't think he's playing anymore, but I don't know. I don't really follow anything outside of Penguins hockey, so I couldn't tell you. Yeah. That's first off. Thank you for all that. That's freaking phenomenal information. I mean, I have all kinds of notes I'm writing down here. The only other thing that I think someone would ask that I personally would probably ask is base layers, you know, and to get into base layers, like this is the day and age of merino wool, right? Everybody's wearing merino wool or alpaca or something along those lines. I don't see that in your lineup, but I've heard you talk about some of the base layers and the way they work, the technology you guys offer. Can you kind of touch base on what your base layers do and kind of how they compete?
Yeah, so the base layer, it's a good point. We get a lot of that. We get there's two things we get requests for all the time. Are you going to make a bino harness in your camos? Which I plead the fifth. And are you going to make merino base layers? And the issue with that is that right now the market is inundated, as you described. Everybody and their brother is making merino or alpaca or whatever base layer. And so we had, and they're on a website right now, we had our midweight base layer called the Bangor, which is a fully synthetic base layer. Just your typical, your spandex polyester type base layer, offers wicking, incredible breathability, it's performance material. But you know, the biggest thing with merino is the antimicrobial, right? The funk cutting,
Yep.
right? That's a huge thing. And so we wanted to develop a base layer that was able to do that. And the only thing that, you know, of course, that we're known for is heat boost, and of course, graphene. And graphene is incredibly wicking. It's just how carbon is made. Like carbon is incredibly wicking. You know, that's trees are giant chunks of carbon. What are trees good at? Moving moisture from the ground to the leaves, right? That's how they are. Same thing as graphene. It's just on a micro scale. And so we developed the Casper base layer, which uses graphene. We only can bring the Casper in gray. So all the other base layers are in a printed camouflage pattern because the material that's used is printable. The graphene amount in the Casper base layer is so large that it only can be gray. And so what the Casper allows us to do is, A, it's super warm because of the amount of graphene that's in it. But then also it's super wicking, and graphene is a natural odor killer. Carbon is I mean, we know carbon from the old days of scent log. You throw it in the dryer, it activates the carbon, it eats the odor, right? So that's our answer to making the merino base layer. So unfortunately, the only thing we can't do is we can't make it super lightweight. So I know there's a lot of guys that like to take a base layer out, really lightweight merino or something like that in like 70-degree weather, 60-degree weather. You can't make graphene that thin. Otherwise, the amount of graphene in it just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't hold the properties anymore. So it's only offered in a heavyweight style base layer. But I can tell you, and actually, if you go and watch and see, I wear the Casper base layer everywhere. Like I wear it on the shooting range. I wear it when I'm working in the shop. I'll just put a vest on over top of it. It's not like a giant thick fleece base layer. It's still quite thin. But that was our answer to the merino question is, you know, instead of trying to put a square peg into everybody else's round hole they've already created, you know, why don't we take something we're already known for in the graphene technology of heat boost and put it into a base layer and see what happens. The response has been great. Our price point on a graphene base layer is way better. It's way easier to produce that material than it is from merino. It's a lot cheaper and it's a lot more durable. So we get a lot more life out of a base layer. It costs about $80 for one of the either or the top or bottom, whereas you could easily spend $150 to almost $200 on a quality merino top or bottom.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And I don't know if anybody's looking, but if you go on the website right now, it's 40% off for that graphene Casper base layer.
Oh, baby, that's a great price, dude. That's a phenomenal price.
Now through the rest of the winter markdown. Yeah.
$48 for a base layer. Can't beat that with a stick, my friend. You brought up something though. You mentioned dryer. So we all know merino wool world, you can't dry your clothing in a dryer, or you shouldn't. Can you do that with your base layers?
Yes, you can.
Boom.
It's synthetic. It's not natural fiber. Yeah.
There you go. So no more of the days of hanging it up in my basement on a hanger, letting it air dry. And having
or you
to
can
wait
just order
2 days.
like a 4XL and throw it in the dryer and it comes out as a medium, you know, one or the other.
Yeah, that's out of my weight range.
No, it's nice. You can just wash it any way you want. I mean, we still recommend don't throw it in at 9 million degrees Fahrenheit, but
right.
But yeah, you do not have to baby it nearly as much. Not nearly as much.
That's awesome, man. Great to hear. And I wanted to make a note on the heat boost because as you were talking about, I totally forgot to bring it up. Like heat boost, when it came out, it was like right around the same time everybody was coming out with like electronic heating vests and jackets. And at first when I heard heat boost, that's what I thought it was. I thought it was some electronic version of a heated vest or whatnot. And then come to find out, you know, not much longer afterwards that it wasn't actually heated by electronics. I was like, okay, I might give this stuff a try.
I can say I thought exactly the same thing,
right?
To be honest with you.
I mean, it was just like perfect timing. Everything came together all around the same time as everything else was kind of getting popular.
Yeah, we actually have to explain that a lot. They're like, hey, you know, how many settings does your heat boost have? And we're like, it only has one. It's not. No wires are involved. And like I said, when we were prototyping this and they were explaining this to me, and I'm just some lowly YouTuber guy, and they're telling me, and I'm like, this is what hooey. I mean, what absolute hooey. They had tested it, and in lab testing, they discovered that it took, so they use a high pile Sherpa. And they discovered that it took that high power Sherpa, and the heat retention of it over a certain time period was 30% more. It was 30% more heat retention. And I'm like, okay, cool. This sounds like, Billy Mays here with OxyClean. And I'm like, this isn't a thing. And then I literally tried it one time. And I was like, this is the warmest I've ever been on stand.
Yeah.
And I'm usually a pretty warm-blooded individual, so I don't usually get cold very easily. But as I've gotten a little bit older, I'm not as stout as I used to be, in my earlier days. And so, where I usually would overheat, I'm now very comfortable. And I can only imagine what I'd be like if I was still not using it. And so it really is a wonder material. The possibilities, like I said, are endless. I'm very excited to bring out this fall the new stuff we're doing with Heat Boost and other fabrics and materials in combination. It's gonna be a cool year. 2025 is gonna be awesome.
Yeah, I saw a video the other day, and I'm sorry if it was your video, but it was hilarious. It was just like a little short of someone like tapping the little button on the Heat Boost to try to turn it off, and I think the caption was something like, when the Heat Boost is too hot and you can't turn it off. You can't turn it down.
I haven't seen that.
Oh, dude, it was great. I don't remember whose video it was, but they're literally just poking the Heat Boost logo on their piece of clothing. It was great.
I'm gonna have to find that. I had no idea that existed. That was definitely not me.
Yeah, I don't know if it was somebody that I follow on Instagram or if it was just something that popped up randomly, but I was like, that's actually pretty clever. That would have made a lot more sense a year ago. Oh, man. So, Nate, before we let you go, man, I got one more final question and then one more thing we got to talk about. But final question is, if you had one piece to recommend to anybody that wanted to try Huntworth and you're like, put the name brand on this piece of clothing, what is it?
If you are a glove-wearing person, when Neil's bread and butter is hats, gloves, and gaiters accessories. He's been working on those for 40 years. If you are a glove-wearing person or snowmobile, ice fishing, snow shoveling, I strongly recommend you check out the Barrow Heat Boost gloves. If you want to be really goofy, you can call them the 1433 because that's their SKU number on the website. But they are that glove is one of the I'm not a glove guy, and it drives Neil and Karen crazy. I'm not a glove guy, but those gloves I will bow hunt in, I will go sled ride with my kids in, I'll drive my car. I have a manual car. I love driving a stick shift car, and I can still feel everything. They are some of the best gloves. They're windproof, great dexterity, touch tip fingers, leather patch palms, super pre-curved fingers. It's like a next set of skin. Gloves and hats and gaiters are where we built our bread and butter before we got into clothing. And truthfully, if you want to dip $40 into a good pair of hat and gloves, check out the Barrow Heat Boost gloves.
Wow.
And you tell me if your hands sweat off. I'm being serious when I say it.
Yeah.
If you want to jump into clothing, I really would check out the Elkins, like I said earlier, for the bow hunting side. But if you really want to know what Heat Boost is all about and what Huntworth was all about and what we're founded on, is the Barrow Heat Boost glove.
And you're in luck because they're actually on sale for $35 right now, not $40. So
right now, let's go.
Click the button, buy it
for 2 easy payments of $19.99.
Do it now. This is not what I expected as a glove there, but you know what? It goes back to the early part of this episode when I mentioned, Huntworth. When I first thought of Huntworth, it was gloves, hats, like that was it, man. That is, and neck warmers, like that's where it's at. Am I wrong, or did you guys have the fingerless gloves as well with like the little mitten that drops over them?
Yeah, the pop top.
Yeah.
The 1436. They're the Colborne pop top glove. You can't miss them.
There they are.
They are awesome. The Colborns are a great glove. We make the gaiters called the Animoose. Phenomenal gaiter. That is one of the softest, warmest gaiters you'll ever wear. My personal favorite glove is the Ames glove, the 1471. It's a fingerless, it's a half fingerless glove. super stretchy, super comfortable, lightweight fleece warmth. That is like the moment I hit turkey season all the way through until it gets too cold. I can't bear it anymore in November. Those Ames gloves, we came out with those last year, and they were a huge hit with their bow hunting crowd, huge hit with their pro staff. I even cut an extra finger off here and there because it just gives me more dexterity in those lightweight glove situations. Again, drives my bosses crazy, but it's a super comfortable glove. That's an awesome turkey. We're ramping up into turkey season. That is an awesome addition to your turkey lineup.
Yeah, I like the way that they kind of cinch a little tighter too around the wrist to kind of keep them better on your hand. Looks like a really nice fit. Super comfortable looking glove. How is the fit on them? If somebody went and did like the size chart, you think it's pretty true to the size chart?
It is 1000% true to size chart. When I say we geek out on gloves, it's really weird to say you geek out on gloves, right?
Yeah.
But that is truly, I mean, we geek out on gloves. People don't know, but we carry about 40 SKUs of gloves. Not all of them are on the website. Some of them we only sell exclusively to certain farm and fleet stores, or Walmart, or Rural King, or Runnings, or Quincy's, or whatever. So we truly make a glove for just about every situation. We make winter gloves that are just solid black color. We do a lot. And so that is a huge part of who we are, even though we're known now a lot for our Heat Boost clothing. It all started with the hat, gloves, and gaiters. And so they continue to be a really strong focal point in our product development. And will continue to stay that way for the future.
I see the pure orange gloves for those beautiful Pennsylvania Orange Army. I mean, I personally couldn't put enough orange on when rifle season starts here in Pennsylvania, so I respect it.
Makes me happier than tagging out in bow season. Nothing makes me happier than not
100%.
having to don a piece of blaze.
100%, man. 100%. When I'm putting it on, though, I want to be seen from every direction, angle.
Every direction. I used to laugh at those guys. They always wore blaze orange, everything, head to toe. And I'm like, man, that guy looks like an idiot. And now as a grown man married with 2 kids, I'm like, man, I want to be like that guy.
Yep. that guy knew.
He's got the right idea. Yeah, he wants to make it home. That's what he wants to do.
Yep. He knew what he was doing. That's awesome, man. Well, Austin, do you have anything for Nate at all?
I just want to take this back full circle to like what we're all about on this podcast. And honestly, Nate, I was just curious if you had your all-time favorite hunting story that you would love to share with our crew.
Oh, man. All-time favorite hunting story. Does it have to be like in terms of like a successful one or just straight up humor?
It does not have to be successful. It could be your first squirrel hunt. It could be your worst hunt ever. Just, your favorite.
I think my favorite hunt, which was very successful, but also still very humorous in its own right, is last year, 2023. I shot the biggest buck I've ever shot to date, in particular in the state of Pennsylvania. It was a huge 130 some inch 8-point. And I pretty much shot him, right in the public, right here by my house. And it all happened because my wife was like, we should go hunting together tonight. And my wife has never gone hunting. My wife has never climbed a tree. My wife has never expressed interest in doing any of those things with me ever. And she's like, I think we should go hunting tonight. And I was like, okay, we have kids. Like, where are the kids going to go? Oh, we'll see if we can get a family member to come over. And sure enough, my gram was able to come over and watch the kids. And that day I'm setting up a tree stand ladder, because I saddle hunt. I don't have methods of keeping my wife in the tree other than another saddle. So I gave her the ropes of saddle hunting in about 10 minutes, about 8 feet off the ground. And she was like, I'm not very comfortable with heights. And I was like, well, we'll be fine. I have a steel ladder up there, and I'll put the platforms up and we'll be fine. Well, we got about 10 foot off the ground, and that's as far as she made it. And I was like, well, we're not going to see any. And we're like 300 yards from the parking lot, doe killing spot. We made so much noise. We're probably not even going to see anything. And then lo and behold, 9 longbeards came out of nowhere. She got to witness like 25 years of hunting experience in one sit. A gray squirrel barked at her, like to the point she thought he was going to jump out and attack her. 9 longbeards showed up and roosted right behind us. And then we had a basket rack 8 and this massive 8 come out. made a scrape in front of us, sparred right in front of us, and made a rub right in front of us. And then he walked to 25 yards and I shot him. And the whole thing was on film. Like, she was there film. I mean, and we get done and we climb down and all. I mean, I'm absolutely floored. I mean, just like all these experiences you only get to see a couple times in your life, let alone in the season, let alone one sit. And she's like, "Oh, was that a big deer?" And I'm like, "You don't even know how big this deer was. That's like 130 some inch 8-point. We're in the middle of godforsaken nowhere in a mountain in Pennsylvania, and you're just like, yeah, whatever." It was so special. So I was like, well, she's my good luck charm. And so then we went to Ohio together, just kind of a weekend getaway, but it was for hunting. And I was like, "You're coming with me." And we sat and we didn't see a dang thing, and she froze her butt off. And so that was it. That's the last the good luck with my wife. That was a really cool experience. And now he's mounted in the shop. And so now every single time I get to see him, I think of that hunt, and that's cool. That was a really unique experience. And but yeah, she's done hunting. She's not doing that ever again. It's too many ticks, too cold.
Yeah.
And I can't blame her.
Should have been a one and done.
I know. I ruined her with Ohio. I thought I was in the money, man. I saw a really nice 8-point dog in the doe, and I was like, I'm going to move down this point. She's going to be with me. She's going to film it again. And we didn't see a dang thing. And so I was like, oh, well, one hit wonder. It works for me.
Oh man, I love that story because it hits home with me so hard, because the one time that my wife agreed to go hunting with me was actually opening day of gun season one year. And my wife is notoriously extremely cold. And for whatever reason, a nor'easter came out of New England that year, right before our opening day of gun season. And it was like -12 outside, and we had like 8 inches of snow on the ground. And she absolutely froze. And that was the one and only time my wife went hunting with me. So.
Yeah. I hear you.
I know the feeling.
Yeah. I don't. And it's funny because we joke, but like, she has made me a colder person. We've been married going on 11 years. And dude, I used to walk outside in shorts and a tank top to take the trash out in 10-degree weather. Dude, I'm putting on heat boost and muck boots and a scarf to get the mail.
Scarf.
Yeah, who puts on a scarf, right? As a kid, right? Your mom always is like, you got to put on a scarf. And you're like, no, I'm not going to wear a scarf. It looks stupid. Now as a grown man, I'm like, I need a scarf. It's cold out there. Yeah, so we joke about that. Yeah, she has made me a colder person. But yeah, every dude I talk to, it's just like, yeah, I took my wife hunting. That was a terrible experience. And so I'm glad I got a good one in. I got one good one. It's a good memory. And my youngest, I have 2 girls. My youngest wanted to go hunting last year, and I took her out in spring turkey, and we were unsuccessful, but she got to see some birds up close and in person. So I'm kind of hoping maybe I can keep. She didn't have any interest in deer hunting. That's fine with me. But maybe I can try to rekindle that again, and maybe have a better one-hit wonder with her this spring.
Heck yeah, spring turkey is definitely the better route to go.
Totally the way to go.
Yeah,
we were all told to go sit over on this ridge, and I'll pick you up at dark in deer season, and you can't do that anymore.
Sure can't. It ain't the same anymore.
It ain't the same.
Too many distractions out there for kids now. Oh man, that is great. I just want to note, by the way, that you own a scarf, but you don't own a pair of Crocs. That's red flag, Nate. Red flag.
Now hang on. My scarf, to be fair.
Okay.
My scarf is like the OG Penguins.
Oh.
The Winter Classic.
Oh, even better. Blue and white with the black.
Yeah, the blue and white with the black. Yeah.
Even better. Yeah. Okay. You have a free pass, sir.
Charles, you're fired.
Okay.
I'm going to go home.
That is my only scarf.
Yeah.
Only scarf
I have
own
the
is that scarf, and it's a Winter Classic scarf.
Yeah, I have the Malkin Winter Classic jersey. I love the Winter Classic colors, man. They're so sweet. Big fan. Yeah.
I have the OG triangle Penguins logo hoodie.
Nice.
I found it at a Goodwill, and I will never part with that thing. I love that logo.
Yeah, I think I still have my uncle's sweater, like the old school 90s Penguins logo sweater. And that thing is just sweet, man.
That's epic.
Yeah.
Legit.
Super sweet.
Legit.
Well, Nate, we'll let you go here, man. Is there anything we missed on Huntworth, Average Jack Archery, anything at all, man?
No. I mean, if it's truthfully, if you are in a store and you see Huntworth, one thing I absolutely love, and I'm being dead serious when I say this is an odd time of year for it, but particularly in the fall, take a picture of you wearing Huntworth if you do own it, or if you're in a store, and tag us on social media. I get over the moon when we see our customer base and people sharing the Huntworth love. I call it the Huntworth family because that's what the company is. We're not private equity. We don't have a skyscraper bank account. We are a small town bluegrass, a blue collar grassroots company. And so people are like, what's one of the things I can do to help Huntworth? I'm like, literally just tag a picture of you and your daughter with her first doe that she shot that you took with your iPhone using the headlights of your truck. I don't care if the picture looks terrible. I get fired up when I see that. And so if you ever see that, or you're shooting your bow and you tag Average Jack Archery in such way, I just love seeing people love hunting and love archery and supporting every and all aspects of it. That gets me fired up.
That's awesome to hear, man. Go check out Huntworth, huntworthgear.com. Don't forget the gear. Otherwise, I don't know if you're going to make it or not.
You're not going to make it.
Yeah, you're not going to make it. Huntworthgear.com. Go see all the details of the website that we were noting early on. But Nate, thanks again, man. Appreciate your time. I know it's late. It's Thursday night and it's freezing cold outside. So you survived the blizzard and then you had to deal with us. We appreciate it, man.
Hey, I appreciate you guys having me on. Thanks so much.